Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download at audiblepodcast.com/Sorgatron Media. Over 75,000 titles to choose from for your iPod, iPhone, or MP3 player.
I'm getting awesome, you're getting awesome, we're getting awesome, yeah, that's what I said now. I'm getting awesome, you're getting awesome, we're getting awesome, yeah, that's what I said.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the AwesomeCast number 15, I think we're up to. We got a full house tonight. We're going to be talking about all the tech, everything awesome from right here in Steel City, Pittsburgh, PA. Right here in the neighborhood of Beachview, personally, and all across the far reaches of Pittsburgh. Well, I guess it's not that far. We got an all-star cast here behind me, and just ignore the fact that whatever Chachi says doesn't match that video. First of all, as usual, my co-host Norm. Oh no.
I've been replaced so fast.
Rob Cretaz. I just realized.
Hey, I'm old timey. I didn't know I was old timey again.
I'm sorry.
Let me fix the mustache. Hold on, I gotta straighten it out there. All right, handlebars away.
Handlebars away, indeed. We got you on there. So how you doing this week? You had an interesting weekend, sir, as demonstrated by YouTube.
I think you may be referring to the small protein snack which I engaged in on Saturday night.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I may have deep fried and eaten a moth, which I wouldn't recommend. You can it's mostly wingy, and then you get to the little nuggety center of the moth that has a little bit of a sour squish to it. Otherwise,
it's nougat. Is that how you describe it?
I didn't say nougaty. I thought about saying nougaty, just because nougaty is such a, it rolls off your tongue, nougaty. Mm-hmm. But, nuggety, it's like a little nugget of insect, and it would have been better off with some chocolate, maybe. Maybe ketchup. Ketchup would have fixed it. Heinz fixes everything.
Awesome. And, of course, with us, as he was last week, again, he's not, just imagine his lips were matching. Tony Chachi Walker is on the line. How you doing this week, sir?
I'm doing well.
Okay, great.
It's fantastic. It's a Tuesday.
Great self-introduction. Notice by the titles you have a lot shorter website now.
I do. Thank you very much.
Don't thank me, sir. Don't thank me. Then do something with it. And of course, you got some new stuff going on as people see playing behind me if they're on the video. But we'll talk about your new project a little bit later in the show there.
Sounds good.
All right. And then Norm Hulsman joins us for the first time. He helped me along talking about PodCamp last week on the Tech Buzz. So how you doing tonight?
I'm doing fantastic.
Excellent.
Thanks for having me on.
No problem. And of course, Norm works down there at the Art Institute of Pittsburgh. One of the great co-organizers of PodCamp Pittsburgh over at podcamppittsburgh.com and other blogs. Real quick, what are your other projects people want to check you out at?
Well, we've got creationrex.com. I'm the Dino Wrangler. On that site, I manage our infamous dinosaur. And I'm at normanhulsman.com and Mr. Derby on Twitter.
Excellent.
I love that dinosaur.
Chachi is on a quest to become mayor of Creation Rex. So
5 more days. If all goes to plan.
Excellent. Well, let's get right into everything, all the awesome news for the week. And I told you, Norm, earlier, I hope you like iPods.
Yes.
That is the news of the week. We had the announcement last Wednesday. Of course, we speculated last week, and for the most part, we were wrong, I think.
Well, I was right. I'm just saying.
You were right. Now, what were you right about there, Rob?
I was right about, they didn't call it the iTV, but the Apple TV, which I had, I was kind of torn about it, because Steven was just like, not really going to happen, I don't think so, it doesn't make any sense, which did get me thinking, you know what, it's a good point that usually we have evidence of a production cycle underway or something like that, and we didn't have anything to that regard, we didn't have anything for the Apple TV. But it was kind of funny, that morning I woke up and I was thinking to myself, about the last, say, 2 or 3 Apple announcements that normally would have been a secret that had been leaked out. And I was thinking, it would be really funny if they announce an iTV today, which sends 2 messages. It intros them back into the Apple TV thing and says, hey, we haven't forgot about it. But it also says, it'll definitely, I was thinking, it'll definitely be another one more thing. And it also says, hey, you know how you usually know what we're doing? Sometimes you don't. Just saying.
So this was a message to the Apple faithful this week, to not presume. Didn't we have something like this before, where everybody thought they knew what was going on? Well, I guess the iPad, we kind of had that, but there's been a few. There's been a few of these where it feels everybody feels that Apple didn't go far enough with these announcements.
Yeah.
But of course, these are people that speculate for months and weeks on end that it's gonna be an app, iTV, and all this stuff, and you'll replace your cable with it. When in the end, every time I look at this thing, it just seems like a Roku box with an Apple logo on it, and you can get iTunes. Yeah,
I mean, they could have gone so much further with this, and they did disappoint a lot of people, including me. I would have loved to see iOS 4 on this. And we don't know what's running under the hood on the Apple TV. For all we know, it is iOS. They just haven't released it yet. I think this is an example of Apple's, how every once in a while they kind of shuffle something into the industry that they're extremely cautious about because they don't have a whole lot of support. I don't feel like they had support from the publishing houses for the idea of application-based a la carte TV, so they just held back a little bit. But the way this thing is built, it's all running A4 hardware and all that. It'll be foremost extremely easy to hack to run iOS 4. If not something that Apple themselves could roll out in the future.
Yeah, and there was no confirmation this thing could be running iOS 4 under the hood, so it could be the matter of them just turning on a switch, for all we know. Now, $99 price point, again, like the Roku, I still feel like the more I look at something like the Roku, it has more ability with, I'm pretty sure it has... I'm pretty sure it has Hulu ability. I know they have UFC, Amazon Prime, or not Amazon Prime, Amazon On Demand. Your Netflix is on it, of course, which is, I guess that's the big deal. This one is we have Netflix out of the box and podcasts. But I still don't see where this has a place other than the fancy Apple branding, or maybe that's enough to kind of give a little bit of credibility, a little bit of visibility to something like this.
Yeah, one of the things that Steve said in the same tone when they had first launched iTunes, and they said, you know what, we only have a handful of people on board right now, but we think this is going to be a big deal. When he was talking about the Apple TV, he said, right now we have 2 or 3 networks on board, but we think this is going to be like a big deal. And once they get more people on board, it might make a lot more sense for them to really fire out the big guns. Because if they wanted to, they obviously have a whole ton of might, and they could get a whole ton of people on board, but they're not sure they want to spend the resources in that area unless they see the enthusiasm from both the publishers and the users.
One aspect that Steve kind of ticked some people off, of course, he talked about, what was, did you bring up the quote earlier about that may have thrown off podcasters a little bit?
Yeah, let's see here. He said that Jobs told, this is quoting a Macworld article, Jobs said consumers told Apple they preferred Hollywood content rather than amateur hour. That's pretty much a direct quote. So he's not targeting podcasts, but he is saying that in a general statement they found that people are more excited about Hollywood content, big studio content, than they are about user-generated content.
So, yeah, again, more stab at YouTube, but this isn't the first time he said something about podcasters either. So,
Right.
That's an interesting statement, really, because, it's not untrue, in a sense, that, there are non-professional people creating all this content, but at the same time, think about what type of a voice it gives to people and all of the niche audiences that it creates. And I think talking about it in that frame does demean it a little bit, but I think it's a really valuable tool, and I would be afraid that means they want to take it away or back off of the free distribution service that they're giving.
Mm-hmm.
Well, see, my whole thing is, first, to go back to the Apple TV, basically my thought is they could strap the Apple logo on a 3-inch by 3-inch black box with a blinking light on it, and people will pay 3 times the amount of what it's
Which is kind of what the new Apple TV looks like.
Right. Exactly. So it doesn't matter how well it works or how it stacks up to the competition. There's going to be people out there that are going to go out and spend $75 on anything that Apple puts their picture on.
But still, it still seems like it's a step forward, because the same thing, well, less than the same thing, was literally 3 times as much when you bought an Apple TV.
Yeah. And I think this is, they're looking for a sign of success. What I was surprised at is that when you compare the original Apple TV to this, the only difference is that they have, they changed the way that you can rent movies in the iTunes store, so you can rent movies, you can rent TV shows for 99 cents a pop. HD, they made it extremely simple, which, like I was talking about last week, when people want to stream video, this is something you can buy for your parents. This is something, there's only like 3 cables involved. It's pretty hard to screw up. You can buy it for somebody who does absolutely nothing, and it'll work fine. So it's super simple, but at the same time, it doesn't change a whole lot from the original Apple TV, except for the fact that I assume it's going to be lightning fast running the A4.
Is this maybe the kind of how we said the iPad we would give to our grandmother to have an opening on the internet? Is this maybe the thing that we get our parents so they can get Netflix without issue?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I could definitely, if my parents had Netflix, this is something that, and I mean, my dad, I've probably had to explain to him at least 1,700 times how to attach something to an email. So
yeah.
They're not the most tech-savvy people, but they could definitely handle using Netflix on the iTV.
Okay, but what's wrong with... and I'm not trying to say that this isn't a good thing. I would give it an honest shot if I had a use for it. But, I mean, what's wrong with people using Netflix the way Netflix was originally created?
On a computer or with a DVD?
With the DVD.
I think when you look at it, Netflix even sees that the DVDs are going to go away.
Yeah.
They're already partially replaced quality-wise with Blu-rays. The penetrations, it's there to keep it alive, but eventually it's going to go away. And they're hedging their bets that the next big thing, instead of you buying a disc, renting a disc, is going to be you streaming content to your computer and not having to deal with anything physical. They want it. They don't have to deal with postage. They don't have to deal with facilities. They deal with their servers, and they're okay.
Exactly. It's immediate delivery, just like what's been so successful with the Kindle. People who would normally buy a couple books are finding themselves buying a whole lot more books just because it's delivered immediately.
And as far as making that process easier, I mean, have you looked lately on Netflix? I happened to be in my account earlier today because I was just curious. I was wondering if I could still find exactly how much I stream per month to kind of just see how much I consume, just as a comparison point. And they have the help section with the list of devices that this thing is available on. We're talking Blu-ray players that are net ready, televisions that are net ready, every console of this generation. Now our iPhones, our iPads. Netflix is really hedging their bets on it, and it's obvious by the push that they've made to get in our devices, to get in our homes as easy as possible. And having a big name like Apple behind you, I think, is a really big step forward for them.
Well, I understand that, but can you honestly say that within the next 6 months, DVDs are going to go away?
No, not 6 months. This is a longer term plan by them.
Okay.
We're talking next 5 years.
Well, exactly. Which means that the older generation that is having a hard time pushing themselves to move on shouldn't have to be in a hurry to move on. That's all.
But if you're a company looking to make money, you want to stem them away from the more costly medium as soon as possible. So by making Netflix and other streaming things, like you see with all the, like if you buy a Sony Bravia TV right now, you can access Twitter, you can access Facebook, and Netflix is available on several of those sets as well. The idea of just the fewer steps you have to take and the fewer questions you have to ask, if you can stumble upon this, like you buy a new TV, oh hey, look, it's got this thing, oh I have to pay what to do what? Oh hey, cool, look at that, I can watch any movie I want right now.
A perfect example of that is if somebody older goes to Best Buy to get the best television, they're going to be talked into getting 3D TV because that's just the best one available. Now, that 3D TV probably already has Netflix in it, or Amazon, or Hulu, or whatever else they've packed in that hooks it up for as a net-ready television. And that's just another potential customer. And that's, you know, if you're looking through your TV, oh, what's this Netflix? Oh, I can stream this. Oh, I just need to plug this in. Oh, I have internet. I can do that, you know, or I can get the Geek Squad to do it. Because, you know, if you're old, retired, have a little bit of money, you're just going to get the Geek Squad to do it.
Don't get me started on the Geek Squad.
Hey, that's what they're there for, you know?
I know. And let me just state that I don't disagree with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I see this as being the way to go also.
Mm-hmm.
I was just trying to provide the older generation's perspective.
Yeah. Any older generation's not going to jump on this. Unless they got young.
It's just like everything else.
Yeah. This is for the younger generation. As we get older, it's going to grow up with us, and it's going to push out the old technology. So, moving on a little bit from that, Amazon, really quick to say, hey, we got 99-cent shows too, and you can download them,
which is awesome.
Well, that's kind of a big point that's put forward by Jobs, was people aren't as interested in storing stuff on their devices in home. You know, I have a hard drive full of movies that I own, you know, in this house. You know, how many people want to mess with that? How many people just want to put 99 cents down, rent the thing, and that's it? You know, so but. Does this kind of nullify Amazon's play for the 99-cent episode, though?
Well, I think that Amazon just beat them to the punch.
Yeah.
I mean, they made it a lot better and faster.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're telling me that I can go and buy or pay $12 to $18 for digital copies of ABC and Fox shows,
what was that?
And well, that's just what they have right now.
Yeah.
And who knows what they're going to release in the future.
And there's a good point to that. If you go ahead and buy these episodes as they come out and get, like, say, a season of Glee, what are we talking about, 12 or 15 episodes of Glee? We're talking right. 12 or 15 bucks versus, like, $30, $40 for the DVD set?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, are these all HD?
I think they start at, like, 720.
They start at 720, which still, you know, that's still better than DVD. For the same thing.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but $18 for a season of a TV show I watch and would rewatch. It sounds like the best price for me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it's also like it's kind of a stumbling block. Like the whole pricing scheme is going to be a stumbling block for many years to come when we figure out net neutrality, bandwidth schemes, streaming versus saving, stuff like that. But like when you look at the numbers, streaming over iTunes has been more successful than streaming over Amazon. I wouldn't say anybody beat anybody to the punch or anything like that. I think this is different markets approaching different people. More people with PCs are going to look towards Amazon than they are going to look towards iTunes, because iTunes is notoriously awful in Windows, and thanks to the current release that just came out, it's not any better.
Well, you don't like the shiny new logo, Rob?
Don't get me started on the logo.
It's got its own Twitter account and everything, man.
I can't even, like, I have no explanation whatsoever. I think somebody had to get a logo approved, they snuck into Steve's office, hit him over the head with a baseball bat, used his hand to sign a paper, and that's how this thing was born. It's an oval, not even a circle.
Mm-hmm.
The best thing I've seen come out of this is somebody released icons that copy the icons for the iPhone that you can use in OS X. It's just so much better. It looks like the. It reminds me of when Windows Media Player 7 first came out, and it had that kind of like their first experiments with Aeroglass. That's what it reminds me of.
Excellent. Well, going with that, you know, the new iTunes we mentioned, the new Ping service. Is everybody signed up for Ping? I hope you didn't try with Facebook because you're not allowed to.
No, I did
anybody?
not sign up for Ping.
Nobody even tried. I did. I signed in. I'm on Ping.
I have Get Glue.
Realize I can't find anybody else on Ping. That's it. I think Funky Dung added me. I saw his approval today. Don't know how I look for people, so I guess I gotta look up people's names and everything. I can't go through like my Google contacts or anything like that. So it's pretty much useless. But the big story out of it, apparently they had the Facebook Connect. Of course, if you're a huge user base, if you're a huge user base, Facebook may deny you because they don't want that kind of traffic. And apparently they cut off Apple right off the bat.
Yeah, there's a lot of things wrong with Ping, a lot. Let's count the ways. Okay, it's impossible to find anybody. It's impossible to find the artists you want. Half the artists you want aren't even on there because they didn't let everybody know about it enough ahead of time. Which, I mean, to their credit, okay, let's keep it a secret. But still, it means when all these millions of users jump on the service, they can't do the thing that you told them was so cool that they could do. And also, if you didn't buy your music in the iTunes store, so illegal downloading aside, say you ripped a CD, oh, sorry, it doesn't count.
Yeah.
Doesn't factor in any algorithm as to what you listen to. So I don't buy a lot of music from the iTunes store. Say I bought stuff from the Amazon store. Doesn't count. Sorry, not actually music. And it doesn't separate libraries. So if you have multiple users on one iTunes account, it's going to aggregate everybody's choices together. It's bad news all around.
So you buy a lot of children's music for your kids. It's going to come up with like, oh, you like the Care Bears album. And not your Limp Bizkit or whatever. Limp Bizkit.
You just said Limp Bizkit.
That was the worst example, wasn't it?
You just said Limp Bizkit.
Disturbed maybe. Lady Gaga. I don't know. What do the kids listen to these days, Chachi?
Taylor Swift. Justin Bieber.
Justin Bieber. Jonas Brothers. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyways, I do run a music show. I swear. But yeah, it's very antisocial for such a thing. Also announced new iPods, including the iPod Nano Touch, Nano Square.
You mean iWatch?
Yeah, iWatch. I was trying to stay away from that. I've heard that joke way too much this week.
But it's so obvious. It's the size of a watch face. Is somebody selling a strap for it yet? Because I want to buy it.
It's gonna be there. But I had the calculator watch back in the day, man. Like around the 6th grade. Like I was rocking the calculator. I was all about the computer on your wrist way before. Now it's cool. Now it's gonna be.
Imagine how cool it would be if somebody hacks the Nano to change it into a calculator interface.
It's a touch screen. It looks a lot like the iPhone touchscreen interface. Although, are there going to be apps for this? I mean, we have apps for iPods, right?
It's got the Nike Plus, I know that, but I don't think it has any access to any other kind of applications.
It's not out yet. We don't really know. Of course, it's not going to have Wi-Fi. They took the camera away from everybody. Which, it was kind of interesting that they put the camera on the last Nano. It was like a nice, cheap little thing. It seemed like an interesting competition for maybe a flip cam or something,
Doesn't it still has a camera, but you can't take video with it or something like that?
I thought they took the camera away.
Did they? I'm not sure now.
But one thing that I thought that Apple was finally doing with that Nano, and that the watch is a funny thing, but they're finally getting us to the technology that we saw in Inspector Gadget with Penny's computer book and her watch. Really kind of gets us there.
So the Apple roadmap is inspired by Inspector Gadget. I like that. I was thinking more Dick Tracy myself.
Definitely Dick Tracy.
Yeah.
I just checked. There is no camera on. I have no idea what I'm talking about.
I'm sure there are multiple paths of inspiration there.
And then the iPod Shuffle kind of backtracked to the button interface. I just bought my dad the voice one, so I don't know how that's going just yet.
One of my biggest complaints about the new Nano is what I have right now is a 4th generation iPod Nano. I am of the group that says that this is the best iteration of the Nano. And I can operate it without looking at it, which is a nice feature for things that play music that you don't need to like interact with content on visually. But when you create a touchscreen out of it, it means you're going to have to look at it to do anything you want. Unless I think maybe it operates by voice, like the Shuffle does.
Now, does that one even play video?
This one, I don't. Who would want to watch video on a screen this small? I don't think it does. Maybe it does. I would never watch video on this thing. There's no space for video. There's nothing that says movies, so I don't think it does. But like, I use this at work. It's completely bulletproof. It's got the brushed aluminum case, and I've actually run this one through the wash twice. The other one I've run through the wash 5 times. That's washer and dryer, and they still work perfectly fine. I don't think the new Nano is going to do that. No.
I think that touch interface is going to be ruined after something like that. It's like, okay, now am I going to have to put a film on there and get a case like I do my iPhone? It's a whole new mess of worms. iPod Touch updated, of course, Retina display, all the fun doodads of the iPhone 4, including the front-facing camera. Now, there's been some talk about how this is a lesser camera than on the iPhone. Isn't it? It's a 1.3 megapixel, just like the other front-facing, isn't it?
Does anybody know? I didn't look up the details.
No. I just heard a little bit of rumblings about that. But interesting, the FaceTime, well, now you can pretty much have an iPhone 4 without having an iPhone 4 at this point?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, really, like, the last time I used this for a phone call, well, this week doesn't count, because last week was my birthday, but besides that, it was like, I don't know, 2 weeks ago? I don't talk on the phone, ever. So really, I could just have an iPod Touch with 3G connectivity.
You could get the add-on that adds a SIM chip to it that turns your iPod Touch into an iPhone. Perfect.
Yay!
And you don't have an AT&T contract. It'll be amazing.
I kind of wonder how far off that idea is.
But it's out there. I think you gotta go to China to find it, but it's out there. So
I know Mike Munz had that. He had his iPod Touch set up to do that.
But I think he's the guy that would jailbreak right away, to get something like that going. But it is to the point where you get an iPhone Touch iPod Touch, and you get Skype, and you're going to be around Wi-Fi. Say you're downtown all day. That's it. That's the solution right there. With avoiding the cell phone. I mean, hope you don't travel. Other than that. So, all right, let's move on.
Quick note. I just looked. The main camera on the iPhone 4 is 5 megapixel. The main camera on the iPod Touch is under 1 megapixel.
For the back camera?
Yes, for the primary camera.
Interesting. Of course, they're probably trying to keep the price down for that, so I'm not surprised. So, all right, how about a little bit of non-Apple news for a change?
Ooh.
Thank God.
All right.
There's a world outside of Apple? I had no idea.
I know, right? I know. All right, real quick. Remember BrightKite? I used to be one of the early BrightKite users back when they were on beta. Of course, I think Foursquare's kind of eclipsed them. Well, they have a little bit. Get $5 off when you check in at McDonald's, courtesy of BrightKite. I thought this was interesting. So this is the first kind of major deal, because you're in Foursquare across at least Pittsburgh here. They always say, hey, check out this deal around the corner. I think Bachtown makes you stand up, say I love Foursquare, I love Bachtown, and they'll give you a free drink. That was interesting. In Starbucks as usual and everything. This is the first kind of major corporate thing They say the messages will pop up in your feed. It looks like a banner ad, and the launches a spinner that highlights the items on the McDonald's dollar menu. You click the Bright Kite page through there. So this is the first move, and interesting, something this big. I guess it was through Visa as well as McDonald's. Is this kind of the first, opening up, or that we'll see more of this stuff on Foursquare's, Gowalas, or whatnot?
Well, I think you're underestimating what Foursquare has implemented. They have far more corporate support than this.
Do they? I mean, maybe I'm not going the right places.
Yeah, they've got a lot of stuff like nationwide chains and things like that, where you can get what was it? I think it was
I know I've seen
Ruby
Starbucks.
Tuesdays or TGI Fridays or something. When you checked in, it would say, it was really smart the way they did it. It wasn't just, you get like a free thing of chips or something, but it also said, tell your waiter to use coupon code whatever, so they could inform their waiter how to apply the discount.
Okay, yeah. Because, that was one thing, because we were, me and my wife were playing with our phones there at Blocktown and everything, just as we do, because we're, addicted. And the waitress was like, I don't understand, all this Foursquare and Twitter and stuff, but the owner, they love it and stuff. So it's definitely interesting to educate the poor staff that's going to have to, scratch their heads trying to, figure out what exactly you're talking about.
I'm really surprised to see this on Bright Kite, because I was never a huge fan of Bright Kite. I forget why. I just never really saw a huge use for it when I had Twitter. It wasn't compelling enough, I guess, for me to jump aboard and really invest my time in it. Mm-hmm. Has Bright Kite done anything lately?
The closest is they had check.in, which was kind of their web app so you could check into them, Gowalla, and Foursquare to kind of keep you attached to all of them. That's the last big thing I've seen from them. Huh. So,
wonder what they're doing over there.
What's going on, Bright Kite?
So like, we don't really have a huge user base, but I hear that Foursquare thing is doing discounts. Let's do one of those and see what it does.
But you kind of hope that some of these pick up. Not so it's more than just Facebook and Foursquare. So competition can only help or splinter the market. Who knows?
Absolutely.
You don't want it to become another Plurk. So let's see what else we got here before we get to the break. Duke Nukem lives, guys. I know.
Duke Nukem for never.
Duke Nukem was picked up by Gearbox. Of course, I think as the president of Gearbox was involved with the original Duke Nukem 3D. Left the company in 1997 to form Gearbox. And they apparently picked up the ashes, worked out a deal, and I think they're looking for something this fall? Christmas season? Something like that?
No, they want to do... Well, according to Wikipedia, they said 2011.
It is going to be 2011, but they said that it was playable at PAX, Penny Arcade Expo, this past weekend.
Right, so that's most likely wrong.
That's more than we have ever seen.
I know. 14 years.
14 years. And they say there's going to be a demo out. So keep an eye out for that. I'm excited. I like the old Duke Nukem. I bought the Duke Nukem on Xbox, the Duke Nukem 3D, and it was great reliving all that old stuff. I mean, back in the day on the PC when that was the first place where video games were kind of no holds barred. So I'm glad to see that they're coming around to it finally. Even if it's not their original 3D realms, but Gearbox has done good stuff. So
one of the big questions is that wow, that's an echo. There we go. Is that since this has had so much invested into it and so much time and everything, but it's still, when you drum down to it, still a first-person shooter. Is this game going to apply to anybody at this point who didn't play the first, Duke Nukem and for nostalgic purposes? Because when Duke Nukem Forever was first announced, like first-person shooters were still huge and dominant in the market. Mm-hmm. But I don't think they are anymore.
Well, I think they are. You still have Halo. You still have Killzone, so they're big even on the console. It's bigger than it ever was before, I think. BioShock.
Is it still going to be like hugely special though?
I have a feeling. I don't think you can go into this expecting anything revolutionary. But it's not like there haven't been Duke Nukem games over the years. It's been licensed to death. There's been plenty of side scrollers and third person shooters over the years. So I think it's still in people's minds enough. You know, it's gonna be us 30-year-olds. You know, to be honest. You know, that are going to be like, yeah, Duke Nukem, I remember that shit back in the day, and there you go.
It could be a really good like comedy first-person shooter game if they took it that far.
If the sense of humor is there, I think, you know, which was the big reason why you played Duke Nukem 3D, I think it'll be perfect. So, all right.
Listen, I want to roll into a strip club and throw some ones down. That's all I'm saying.
Yes. And let's face it, you know, the 3D for that will be much better than it used to be.
Wow.
Maybe it's just waiting for the 3D TVs. You know, it was just biding its time.
That could be dangerous. They knew. They had a plan in 1997 that said in 14 years we'll have 3D TVs. For real this time. Yeah. Which has been taking longer in development, 3D TVs or Duke Nukem Forever?
I'm going to go Duke Nukem Forever.
Oh, I don't know. All right, one last story before we get here to the break. Pirate Bay documentary in the works.
Woo!
I'll watch it.
Who's going to be attached to that one?
I will. They started their funding on Kickstarter, and within 3 days of posting on Kickstarter, they achieved a goal of $25,000, and they are currently sitting at $39,190, backed by 1,315 people with 19 days left for funding.
Wow! That Kickstarter. I'm glad to see Kickstarter is so successful. We actually, I think we'll be talking about that a little bit next week when we have Justin Kanaki on. But yeah, JustinKanaki.com. Go see what he's got going there. Again, we'll talk about that more next week. But wow, they got a bit of a community over there, I'd say.
Yeah, a little bit of a community. This movie is going to be mostly about the legal battles that they have gone through, the Court of Appeal hearings in Stockholm, all the founders, the jailing, the damages, their feelings, commentary on that. Seems to be not so much, because there were the documentaries before this that weren't necessarily focused on the Pirate Bay itself. There was Steal This Film and Steal This Film 2, I think. And both of those were more commentary on piracy in general and the people versus, you know, the MPAA and the RIAA. But this is going to be focused pretty much solely on the Pirate Bay and their efforts towards piracy and the Pirate Party and all that good stuff. I'm pretty excited about it. And they also, I think yesterday or a couple days ago, they released the first trailer. There was a teaser initially, but there's one trailer out, and I think they're releasing 3 more throughout the month of September.
Excellent. All right, guys, it's sponsor time. Of course, we got an affiliate, a new one we started last week. You know, it threw me off because I thought Chachi was throwing his hands up in the background in disgust. Was interesting timing. Backblaze is our affiliate. If you go over to AwesomeCast.com, we got a link over there for you to check it out. It's only $5 a month. If you have important documents, you know, a lot of us do computer work, especially people on the show, listening to this show. You gotta have that stuff backed up more than just physically at your location. You know, my stuff, I'm backing up on hard drives. I'm sending a second one somewhere else, maybe to my mom's house, and I'm making sure it's online. So if the worst happens, you know, I can recover all those old shows of the Awesome Cast, of the Wrestling Mayhem show, and all my old projects for clients and everything. And I don't know why you guys can't hear me. But go check it out. Backblaze, if you go check out the service through that, just give it a try, see how it works for a month, and you'll be helping the show out. Backblaze.com. So, guys, are you guys hearing me now?
Nope.
No.
Okay, there you
go. Oh, there you are.
You're really low.
Really low?
For me.
Test 1 2. Test 1 2. It's live podcasting, ladies and gentlemen. We're good. We're
what
good.
happened there?
I have no idea. You know what? Some of these knobs have been a little weird lately. I think I need to re-plug the whole board or something. So of course, this week, I wanted to talk about a little bit. Of course, we're probably going to talk about a little bit next week too. But PodCamp Pittsburgh's coming up here in just under 2 weeks, September 18th and 19th here for the local Pittsburgh area. Of course, if you're not able to travel in, of course, I know we have people all around. A lot of that stuff's going to be online, live, thanks to the guys at vivolive.com. We're going to be having sessions there. We're going to have a live AwesomeCast on that Sunday. And we got Norm here, who is a co-organizer, helping us out with the facilities there at the Art Institute of Pittsburgh. So how are things looking, Norm? I mean, we're solving a lot of the space issues this year.
Yeah, I think that was probably the biggest criticism we had, which is, in my opinion, a good problem to have.
Oh, definitely.
We have 375 members, attendees last year, and I think we're on track to hit that. I think our max number that we're going to allow was 400. Mm-hmm. And I think it's really good. I met with Spike from Vivo last week, and we got set up for the chat. And I think we're going to have a better chat situation this year.
Excellent.
We're going to have manning the chat and manning the video. So if you're at home and you can't make it in, or maybe you can't come in for half of a day, but you're sitting in line and you want to check out a session, you can get in there and do it, and that's totally free. I was just looking at the familiarizing myself with the schedule, and it is fantastic. I think we have a lot of great one sessions to and it's interesting to see these schedules develop over the years, because we have we're getting more into dynamic stuff, and we have people the tech buzz, doing their kind of more advanced type projects to, your basic podcasting 101 classes. So it'll be interesting to see how the content has become a little bit more dynamic and how people are doing that a little bit.
Definitely. Sorry, we have a little bit of an audio problem, but I think we got most of that. PodCamp's been something, I know I've gone since year one. Norm, I think you have too. So I mean, really, how do you? We started off. It was all about podcasting. More and more, it seems like blogging's kind of taken over. What do you think about it, how the scope has changed for the event over the last few years?
I don't know that on one level the scope has not changed, and that is a lot of people who are coming to PodCamp who don't have a lot of experience. They might not have a Twitter account, or they might not have their own blog, and they really want to get into that. Maybe that's because it's a business opportunity, or just a social opportunity, or they want to start a hobby project. There's a lot of reasons to be a PodCamp if you're uninitiated into the social media world. And then I think this is where more of the change happens, that, for your veterans of PodCamp who've been there a while, and that's where, what's new, what's next, what are you doing now that you weren't doing 5 years ago? So maybe you're reconnecting with people that you had previously met, or if you haven't been to a PodCamp and you are an experienced user, this is a chance for you to really meet other veterans, and so it's really fun when you have a conversation, with three people, with some colleagues about, maybe more advanced web functions or WordPress tricks, or recording opportunities, and then you have someone sitting right next to you listening. What's the best program to use to just capture audio? I'm going to use my built-in microphone on my laptop or something. So then you have these connections being made at multiple levels, and so that is something that always is new and interesting that we're going to see.
Excellent, and again, this is all user generated. This is all people volunteering for this event. It's not put on by some corporation or anything. It's free. I know I was kind of talked into the first PodCamp by Justin to do a session, because I'm like, well, what kind of expert am I? I think I've been doing the Mayhem show for maybe about 6 months at that point, and it's really kind of opened up. Hey, people listen to me, for one thing, and it's a really interesting experience. I've learned something every year. You know, even if I've done podcasting more than a lot of other people there, you know, there's still new techniques and everything that really freshens things up. You know, like we talked to Steven last week. You know, there's a lot of stuff he's doing for these video podcasts that have really, you know, are different from what I'm doing. Is interesting. Comparing notes. It's great to get everybody in a room and not just over Skype, over a bunch of monitors and everything, and actually go face to face. So you know, let's go around a little. What are you guys looking forward most PodCamp this year? We're gonna start with you, Norm.
Oh, I don't. That's a tough question. I always look forward to the kickoff meeting. I love welcoming everyone to PodCamp. That's probably one of my favorite times. But you know, I'm actually just looking forward to reconnecting with everyone who I've met over the years, and hopefully making some new friends. You know, I haven't determined what sessions I'm going to attend this year. I probably will just make that decision as time permits during the day. So more of the social ends of things. That's probably what I'm most looking forward to.
Excellent. Rob, what are you looking forward to here?
Well, one of the things I enjoyed the most when I first did PodCamp, which was PodCamp 2 years ago, right after I had moved to Pittsburgh. I actually moved to Pittsburgh in September, and then PodCamp was in October, I believe. And I came here from South Jersey, where like the nearest city is Philadelphia, and hadn't done a whole lot of conference stuff. And then I went to PodCamp, and I only made it for Sunday, but I was grinning ear to ear the entire day because I was surrounded by so many like really smart, like-minded individuals caring about the same thing, and it was just a very cool experience. So I think what I look forward to most is being in that environment where it's a great place to shoot ideas off of people. It's a great place to be inspired, find new concepts, think about new projects you want to start, and find people who can help you with those projects and help other people with those projects.
Excellent. Shachi, you have a few memories.
I do. Let's see. The first PodCamp I went to, I blew my knee chopping DJ Launchbot during an interview with Chris Brogan. Yep.
That's on your show this week.
It is. To this day, Chris remembers it.
Mm-hmm.
But no, like Norm said, I like reconnecting with everyone. It's 2 solid days of chit-chatting about stuff I care about or have an interest in. It's a wonderful time. I always have fun. I always end up learning at least a notepad worth of things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing. I look forward to it every year now.
Excellent. And of course, you know, with PodCamp Pittsburgh, there's the after parties. Where we've been known to get going after hours. There's plenty of YouTube videos for it. So look forward to a 649, which is a wonderful drink that our Canadian friends, Tommy Valier, I think, brought that down to us on the second PodCamp, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, PodCamp Pittsburgh. You know, I just want to put that out there. And if you're not in Pittsburgh, there's PodCamps all over the place. If you go to podcamp.org, it takes you to the wiki, and it can tell you where there's PodCamps all over the place. I think this is one of the bigger ones. Since we've been around so long, we've kind of grown, and but there's all kinds, different sizes. There's one-day events, there's half-day events. You can start one yourself. It doesn't take much. It basically says a time. The initial concept of PodCamp was really open-ended. We've kind of molded it into our own identity, I think, here in Pittsburgh. And but it really is just, show up. Even if you just have, a sheet of paper with some open rooms, you can create a schedule that day based on the original unconference concept of PodCamp. Of course, started by our friends up in Boston. Chris Brogan, and who's the other? Anybody remember the other guy that started?
Chris Penn.
Chris Penn.
Yeah, Christopher Penn.
So, and it's really cool to see that this is still going on 5 years later here. in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I got to jump in and say, there's a lot of great people to thank who've been involved, and Rob has been very involved this year in making some details happen, and Jenny and your wife, Mike, has been instrumental this year. So it's been great to see the community kind of take care of itself. As we lost our founding father, Justin, to Baltimore. It's been really great to see how this event has kind of withstood the test of time, and kind of the original organizers have a lot of them have kind of moved on to whatever else they're doing now, and we have the next crew taking over. Everyone who's been involved deserves a big pat on the back, because I know that when you get people together to have a meeting, sometimes that's difficult to do, and when you get as many people as it takes to organize a pod camp, and they do it all for free, and they do such a great job. I mean, it's a really great experience. So hats off to you guys. Also, I want to say I'm pretty sure my dad's in the chat room. So so there's progress right there. So my father has joined the Ustream TV chat.
Now, actually, you got a really interesting project that I imagine your dad's involved in it too. You actually got your family blogging.
Yeah, that's true.
Tell us about that. How did you convince them all to do it?
Well, it was actually really simple. A couple years ago, my nephew was born, and I realized that my brother and his wife were creating some YouTube videos, and Joy was sending out like the link to the mass Walmart photo bucket or whatever, and I was just thinking, I know there's a better way to do this, and if I could just convince them all to get on WordPress, we could just all kind of chat and together in a very low key sort of a way. And I just kind of sent out an email. I said, hey, what do you guys think about this idea? We started a WordPress.com blog, and from there we've since migrated over to .org and 3.0. And it's been going really well. I mean, we're not that prolific. There's lulls in posting, but it's great, and it's a great way to share photos and YouTube videos and stuff. So I do remember the funny thing though, when I was getting my mom logged on, I was on the phone with her, walking her through the login steps with email, and she was still unfamiliar with Hotmail and all that. But once she got in, she's been known to post.
Excellent. Now, with a little bit of PodCamp there, somebody that's making a little bit of noise himself, Chachi here on the line. I did want to talk to you. Of course, this is a project that I had to talk you into.
Right.
But we started a new show with him this week, based on his Chachi Says site. And can you tell people the concept?
Well, Sorg and I spend a lot of time on GChat during the day. And by a lot of time, I mean, I get to work at 8 o'clock, and he's usually on by 8:30, 9 o'clock through the entire workday. Now, and it's often just random. Like, it's not a consistent conversation whatsoever. Mm-hmm. It's random thoughts.
It's like our own personal Twitter to each other.
Right. And so one day we're sitting at work, and he sends me a message. He says, hey, you should start a vidcast. And he throws up this link. He's like, kind of like this one. And the link was to PenPoint. Penn from Penn and Teller basically turned his radio studio into a video studio. He has 2 handy cams on tripods with remotes and a flip cam that he holds. All 3 are pointed at him. And basically he goes down whenever he thinks of an idea, and he'll record a short little video about whatever topic he happens to have in his mind at that time. And the producers over at Revision edit all 3 cameras together to create one video with multiple angles. He's like, I think you could do this. He's like, basically get on camera, talk about a topic, and I'll take care of the rest.
Because everybody here has heard Chachi rant on this show or at parties, and I figured that was perfect fodder for a video show. So,
except this is video show, just like the angry tech guy from Saturday Night Live. That character is that what that's about?
I'm not familiar with your mainstream references. I don't know. Literally, I've never heard of that one actually. But yeah, kind of the like that, or the angry Nintendo nerd maybe, or something like that. But or basically anybody on YouTube that just sits in front of a webcam and talks for 10 minutes. But I figured we could do something more interesting than that. So this is a little bit of an experiment for me too. Because of course, we do the AwesomeCast, we do the Wrestling Mayhem show, some more long-form conversational. We get a bunch of people, together in a room or in a chat or something like that. And I've been interested in video blogging, the blogging, not shows necessarily. And Chachi's the perfect personality, I thought. Now this is all part of a grandmaster scheme though, for Chachi.
Right. I think it was 2 weeks ago. I was sitting around watching things get retweeted on Twitter, and I was noticing that there was a lot of basically Kanye West and Chad Ochocinco and basically crap like that.
people less interesting than you.
Right. And they're getting retweeted left and right, not because of what they say is intelligent or funny, just because they are who they are. I mean, people retweet Kanye all day because of his stunt with Taylor Swift. Which, I mean, I gotta admit, I laughed my rear end off when I heard that and saw the clip. But it was over as soon as the clip ended. And I noticed that all these people that are getting attention are celebrities. So I came up with an idea, and I don't know if I can pull it off or not. Just because I'm not really sure. But basically, I want to be the most famous nobody on Twitter.
There you go.
I want to be a complete nobody who ends up turning into... Basically, I want to be internet famous for not doing something dumb.
There you go.
Joe the Plumber, perhaps? Is that an inspiration for you?
It could be. I mean, I'm not going to turn it down, but yeah, I mean...
I'm not saying that you are Joe the Plumber, but I mean...
No. I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, that pretty much sums it up. It's not... I'm not Ashton Kutcher. So I can't go on Oprah and get 1 million followers just by saying I want to be the first guy on Twitter to get 1 million followers. I don't have the resources.
Well, you could go with a political scheme with, following Joe the Plumber. You could get Bill Peduto at PodCamp to somehow endorse you as the common man or whatever, the Mr. Anonymous, or however you want to do that.
That's a great idea.
There you go. I thought we could get some brainstorming together.
Yeah.
So if you have ideas to how to get Chachi to be the most famous nobody in the world on the internet, go ahead and email us here at contact@awesomecast.com, and we're going to pass those along to them. This is an interesting experiment, a little bit of social media experimentation. Also, or if you have any message for Chachi, 724-25-ACAST, 252-2278 if you want to call that. And we're going to see what we can do with that. Go check it out. ChachiSays.net is his blog. And we're going to have some fun with that. So,
right. I would just like to state right now that any instances or emails with ideas alluding to a sex tape or anything of that nature will be deleted instantly.
Oh, there you go.
Well, I just have one question though. How do how do you define when you've become successful? What's your definition for that?
When he has to disconnect all of his phones and go into hiding. That's the goal.
I think we need to find you.
Or when you get paid to tweet, perhaps.
There you go.
That when someone offers me money to do something on the internet, that's
like take a sex tape, perhaps.
Other than sex tape or porn.
You know they just shut down the adult section of Craigslist, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And
Just want to make sure that's clear.
Yeah. When I, like Norm's dad said in the chat, when I get paying sponsors, that's when I know.
Excellent.
It's gone too far.
Excellent. Well, we got to wrap up here. We're leading into the show, and we have a little bit of experimentation. We're running the new Skype beta back there. We're going to try to get up to 10 people going at once. Unfortunately, only for PC users. So stay tuned on YouTube. If I have good results, I'll put them up there. Real quick, of course, Chachi, we know where to find you. Norm, where can everybody find what you're up to?
You can check me out at normhulesman.com. I'm also the Dino Wrangler behind the Dinosaur at the Art Institute of Pittsburgh. That's creationrex.com. And I'm Mr. Derby on Twitter.
Excellent. Rob, what do you got going on?
I actually have a quick plug for a magical product that I discovered the other day. You might remember that I was having issues litter training the kitten that I rescued from the side of the highway. Well, he's been avoiding the litter box for like almost a month now, and then somebody told me to go out and buy Dr. Elsie's Cat Attract. It's like a special kind of litter. It's $20 for a 40-pound bag, and it's made of magic, unicorns, and rainbows.
Wow.
He had the stuff for like 5 minutes, and it was the best thing in the world. He is currently roaming the house freely instead of being locked in a room. So, highly recommended. Otherwise, if you want to hear more about my cat pooping, you can follow me on Twitter at ROBJDLC.
I do.
And if you want to see,
I want to hear about the cat poop.
And if you want to see Rob eating a bug, a fried moth from this past weekend at the Bev Lounge, you can check out our show notes at delicious.com/awesomecast. We got a link right there for you. And also, please check it out at awesomecast.com. The number and email, as I mentioned earlier, all that stuff's up there. Join us on Facebook. Leave us comments. All that fun stuff. Please check out our sponsors on there to support the show. Audible and Backblaze, thank you for being affiliates with us. You can check me over at sorgatron.com. I started a video blog myself. Something different than what Chachi's doing. But again, I'm really interested in experimenting with some different formats around here. And you know, let me know if you like it, you know. It'll be me in the interesting places that I get myself in. We'll just leave it at that. Until then, this has been. Thank you, Norm, for joining us this week. It's been great. We'd love to have you back on anytime.
My pleasure.
And we'll see you at PodCamp. Guys, check out the techbuzz.net. Me and Norm were on there. Norm and I were on there last week. I'm going to be proper about this. Last week for Thursday Thursdays. I had my big mug for the Thursday Thursday. So go check that out. Learn more about PodCamp than we have time to talk about here. And we'll see you guys next week, where our scheduled guest is Justin Kanacki, the godfather of PodCamp Pittsburgh. And we'll talk about a little project that he's looking for some help with. But go check it out at justinkanacki.com in advance. And we'll see you guys next week.